Hello again. Well, today we're going to take a look at the back end of the garden, or as I like to call it, my mini allotment. This is the productive end of things. This is where we like to grow our garlic, beans, onions, raised bed potatoes, and pretty much whatever takes our fancy. It's forever changing and it's never looked the same 2 years running. A couple of recent additions is a perennial vegetable area and a larger front bed which we're growing our garlic in this year. As we always do, we've grown a couple of different types of garlic, a hardneck and a softneck. The softneck has all fallen over to the ground as it does at this time of the year, and I really should be picking it, but it's not on the list of jobs to do today, so I'll just leave it here for a while. It hasn't done as well as it normally does. Okay, it's a bad year. Just got to take that one and we'll grow it again next year. This type's called Colossus, but I don't think it's going to be that colossal when I pull it up. And then this type I bought from a Chinese shop in Richmond, and it came in like a little net sock thing, and I don't know what it's called because it was all Chinese writing on there, so let's call it cheap Chinese garlic. It should be softneck, but it has scapes, so maybe it is a hardneck variety. I pulled some of this the other day. It was all right, nothing to write home about, but it's garlic all the same, and any crop's a good crop, right? The hardneck's doing a lot better and it's starting to produce scapes now. So I am going to cut most of the scapes off because I don't want it to be producing bulbils. But I am going to leave 1 or 2 scapes on, maybe 3 or 4. And the reason I'm going to leave them on is you can see how the scape twists a little bit. Now if we leave that for a while, eventually it will point straight up to the sky, and we want to be cropping the hardneck just before it gets there. When I sow my onion seeds around about Christmas time, I got most of them going indoors under grow lights, but I did put a few out into a cold greenhouse to see how they would compare with the ones that were started off under lights. Now they were always behind come the vernal equinox. They were miles behind, but I put some out anyway just to see how they do. We are just about to hit the summer solstice, and as you can see, they don't even compare with the ones that were started under lights. So I think that's pretty much the end of this experiment. I will continue to start my onion seeds under lights. The types that I'm growing this year are Highkeeper, which is kind of my main crop of onions. Never grown them before, but apparently they're a good storage onion. And then bigger onions, which aren't so good for storing. We got Ailsa Craig and Kelsey. And then we have a type called Bedfordshire Champion, which I've never grown before. I always think at this time of year that my onions should be bigger than they are. I look at other people's and they've got some whoppers going on, but I was looking back through a video that I made this time last year, and I was saying pretty much the same thing. So I guess in these clients they must put on a really good growth spurt during the month of July. I gave these a bit of grub when I set them out, and I've not fed them since. And it's about time we fed them again, and I think I'm going to give everything a feed while I'm at it. Feeding your plants when you live at home couldn't be easier. In fact, it's one of the nicer jobs to do. beans are quite happily beaning away and doing all things beanie, and the Matildas, which I forgot to sow in just 5 weeks, has nearly caught up with the cobras, which are nearly at the top of the poles right now. I've also got a bed of asparagus beans and Chinese red noodle beans, and the best thing I can say about these is that they are not dead. There's a small bed of leeks which won't be ready until winter time, and the new strawberry bed, which I filled with old plants, is producing. Now these are one of Mrs. Coleman's breakfast favourites. No story of success ever started out with the line, "Well, I was trying to be clever." But the fact is, I was trying to be clever with the parsnips and thought I would do some succession sowing. Why I thought that'd be a good idea, I have no idea whatsoever. But the first lot that I sown, no problem, they've all germinated, and since then I've had nothing germinate whatsoever. I should have just sown them all at once. But that was me trying to be clever. Beetroot seeds are compound seeds, and you can get multiple beets from the one seed. So this year I decided not to thin them out. I'm going to let them grow as they germinated. So some of these, there's probably 2 or 3 beets growing together as a cluster, and 1 or 2 singles. It matters not to me because I loathe beets, and the family are just going to have to take whatever grows. I did a seed tape exchange with a neighbour. I gave him a strip of carrots and he gave me a strip of green onions, and in typical seed tape style, we've got loads germinated all in one spot and then huge gaps everywhere else. Seed tape and green onions do not work well together. Never again. Those of you that have been keeping an eye on me over the last couple of years will know that I grow something a little bit daft every year, and this year I'm trying this. It's strawberry popcorn. I'm assuming that the corn is going to be red, and if we do get anything from it, I'm going to be putting it into the microwave, we're going to pop it, and we're going to give it a taste test. I've had a lot of problems this year with my cucumbers dampening off. And I know they say only to water from the bottom, but I think I'm giving up on that theory, because even the ones that I watered from the bottom have still dampened off. I'm beginning to think that maybe it's just because I started them too early. I think next year I'm going to wait until the middle of May before I even sow a cucumber seed. The squashes, on the other hand, no problem whatsoever. It only seems to have affected the cucumbers. The broccoli is doing as good as it should be, and the turnips and Swedes are not. It's been far too warm for them this spring, and most of them have run straight to seed. I also have a few patty pan squashes. In the raised potato bed we have 2 types of potatoes. One is called Yukon Gold and the other are Norland Reds. The cauliflower and the cabbages are doing okay for now, but last year I did have a whitefly infestation and I was hoping it wouldn't return. But I did go to pick a piece of rhubarb the other day and I saw a load of the white little beggars flying up into the air. So it's something that I'm going to have to keep an eye on. I'm growing corn again for the first time in a few years. I've not been bothering to grow corn because I can buy it up the road for a very low price, and it always tastes better than the stuff that I grow. But when I do grow it, I normally direct sow about the first week of June. This year I got it going a week earlier. I think I did it in the last week of May. And this type is called Peaches and Cream. I have a few rhubarb plants that I started from seed in the autumn of last year, and a few rhubarb plants that I started from seed in the spring of this year. And I also have a couple of crowns at the back which I moved from a full sun area where it wasn't growing very well at all into a little bit of a shadier spot where it is thriving very well indeed. I planted 2-year-old asparagus crowns in this bed last year, and I was told not to crop too much of it this year and to let it grow on. Well, I've let it grow on and we've grown asparagus trees. I'm not sure how long I should let this stay like this for. Do I wait until it dies back in the autumn, or should I be cutting it down? I have no idea. If you've got any ideas, let me know, and if not, I'll just have to look it up. I have a few more patty pan squashes and a few marrow plants. There's a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin and some uchiki curry. Well, that's taking a look at the back end of the garden, which is the main production area. And right now I think it's time for a beer. This has been the 3rd installment of this series, and if you missed the first 2, go back and watch them. I will leave links at the end. Next time we'll take a look at a different area of the garden, but until then, it's Steamworks North by Northwest IPA. Cheers.